Welcome to Read, Eat, Travel, Repeat, the book club and podcast with your hosts, Sarah, Kit, and Marianne, three friends who talk about all things books, food, and travel. Welcome, readers, eaters, and travelers to Read, Eat, Travel, Repeat, the podcast and book club where books take us beyond the page. I'm Sarah.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Marianne.
Today, we are excited to welcome an author whose work blends warmth, wit, and deeply human connection in a way that feels both comforting and honest. In our December episode of Read, Eat, Travel, Repeat, we featured Grayson Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon, a novel that very quickly became a standout for us because it captured the magic of quiet moments, unexpected humor, and our favorite, the way that books and movies can bring people together. Or make us argue about, those movies. From the laugh out loud scenes to deeply tender ones, it was a book that lingered with us well beyond the final page. And we are thrilled to get to dig even further into the story, the setting, and the craft behind us. Please join us in welcoming Matthew Norman to the podcast. Yay!
Yay.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. This is fun. I'm ready.
All right.
Do your worst, Marianne.
Okay. So the first question we've got is about the book deals with loss, but it's also warm and hopeful and funny in places too. In a lot of places too. Was that balance something you consciously worked towards, or did it just emerge naturally as you were writing?
A little bit of both, I think. I'm a comedic novelist. My sensibility in all six of my books is to view the world through just sort of a comedic lens. So I think that's my sort of default setting as a writer. With this one, though, as you said, there's some serious stuff going on here, some
Right.
dark, sad stuff. And early on, like in first draft mode, I did find myself struggling a little. I was like, am I being too flippant here? Am I trying to be funny? But then after a while, I just kind of decided to give myself the freedom to just let it be what it wanted to be.
Right.
I think the reader is sophisticated enough to know the complexity of human emotion. The phrase I've been using is joy and heartbreak are like next door neighbors in our lives, right?
Yeah.
We've all laughed at a funeral. We've
Oh, yeah.
all,
Yes.
and so once I gave myself that freedom, the tone of the book just kind of naturally fell into place. And I feel I was very happy with the way it turned out. Just the constant kind of blending of sad and funny, I think, works really well.
It's funny. I'm going off script here, but we don't really have a script. We just went outline.
Right.
There's a quote by Irma Bombeck that got me through like my dad's funeral, which is, if you can laugh at it, you can live through it. And that's kind of like been my mantra most of my life.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's perfect. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so then why a Christmas book about grief?
So novel ideas are strange things. They're unpredictable things. Sometimes they arrive with settings. Sometimes it's characters. Sometimes it's, a situation that I'll see in the world for whatever reason. And I'll think, oh, that's something. With this, it arrived with character, right? I imagined Grace and Henry, and they've gone through this terrible thing sort of, separately. And there are two people in my life, one of whom is my oldest friend, and one of whom is a newer friend, and they both lost their spouses in their early 40s.
Oh,
And
wow.
I sort of observed those two, from a distance, and just kind of watched what they were going through and the grief that they had to overcome just to, raise kids and just go about their daily lives. And I think they were living in my head for quite a while. So Grace and Henry arrived, and in that case, when a book arrives with character, you have to build a setting and a plot and a story around them. And so that's what I did. And I tried to imagine, because they don't know each other. They're strangers on page one of this book. And they've recently both lost their spouses. And I tried to think of something that would be tough for both of them, right? Happening at the same time. And that's when I landed on the first holidays without their respective spouses. And once I landed on that, the setting was, became clear. And I'm a big just a holiday movie fan. So I think probably for the last 25 years, my brain has been scanning for a reason to write about holiday movies, probably. And so I found it. And once I found that, I was like, oh, this is it. That's the architecture of the book. That's the structure of the book. That's the hook, and so that's how it came together.
Yeah. And to kind of connect to the fact that you had some people in mind when you were building these characters out, both Grace and Henry are grieving, but in very, very different ways. They have very different kind of lives happening and different personalities. How did you approach writing kind of two very different people approaching a similar situation.
Yeah, I think that, when you're writing a book, especially a book where the A storyline is going to be a single man and single woman kind of, getting together, or you need to build contrasts between them to make them
Yeah.
two different people, kind of a push and pull. And I thought it was important to have them, generally speaking, going through the same thing, but to have their individual experiences be very different. And I think that really shaped their personality, right? So Grace is a much more, I think, a vocal, outgoing, character.
Yeah.
She says what she's thinking, right?
Yeah.
And she arrived first. I think that I was comfortable with Grace as a character earlier than I was comfortable with Henry. Like, she felt very clear to me from the get-go. Where Henry, I was kind of building him as a contrast to Grace, which meant he had to be more interior. And because of his situation, I think, and this really sort of guided his character to me, he is still really in a state of shock because his wife dies suddenly in an accident.
Yep.
And Grace's husband passes away after a long illness. And just in, talking to people who have been through similar experiences and doing my own kind of research on grief, I think that when somebody is slowly dying from an illness, your grieving process begins earlier. You're kind of saying goodbye to them, before they actually pass away. And so she's farther along in sort of her grief journey than Henry. And I imagine Henry is sort of in a bit of a fog still. And, in Grace, her role ultimately is to kind of save him and just sort of pull him out of that fog and bring him back, to the land of the living, really.
Yeah.
One thing, like, I was wondering, I think you kind of started to touch on it though too, like the backstory of the characters. Like, how do you decide, what jobs that they're going to have, and like Tim's a principal, and yeah, and I love that Grace has a bar, because I mean I love that, like, the gender roles were kind of flipped there. That Grace is the bar owner and Henry's like the more artistic, sensitive type. So how do you decide, what you're going to have them doing when they're, not interacting with each other?
So some things as a writer, I think about a lot, and I put a lot of thought into, a lot of effort and brainstorming, trying to build a character. And sometimes I just kind of go with however they arrive in my mind, right? And so when it comes to the principal thing, with Tim, it just sort of popped in there. I was like, I like it. That's good. Run with it. That kind of thing. With Grace and Henry, it's interesting because you pointed out that the gender roles are sort of, the traditional gender roles are kind of flipped. So to be perfectly honest with you, early on in the earliest stages of the book, before I'd done any writing, they arrived in their more traditional form, gender form.
Interesting.
Okay.
So Henry, bar owner, Grace, more artistic type.
Ooh.
And I was just like, okay, fine, right? And then I was thinking about it more, and I'm like, well, maybe it's more interesting if the most obvious thing is then flipped. And I think that it's better, and that, Grace, I just feel like I saw her, like I just know her, like I see her around Baltimore.
Yes.
She really fell into place for me. But sometimes you just go with your gut and what pops into your head right away, and sometimes you take that first idea and try to spin it and make it as more interesting.
Yeah.
I love that Grace was like the beer drinker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Henry
We had a
was
lot
like
of thoughts
the
about
rosé.
their
We did have a lot of
chosen drink.
conversation.
Wine.
What's
about
funny
the
about
wine, and
I know it's funny about the wine. So it's funny. I have not
Mr.
told this.
Rosé.
I have not told this story. As
Oh,
I've
we're getting an exclusive.
We're
I've
ready.
talked about this book. I've talked about this book nonstop for like 2 months, right? All through the
Right,
holidays.
right.
So I'm sort of at the end of talking about it because it's, late January now.
Yeah.
But so years ago, I was on just a couple's vacation with my wife and a couple of other couples. And one of my oldest friends, Rob, we were in South Carolina in Charleston, and there was this restaurant, and we sat down, this group of us, and the waiter put out this drink specials, and they were running a special on rosé, right? And Rob, it was like buy one, get one glass free, whatever.
Yeah.
And Rob, who is this sort of stoic guy, he's in finance. He never like sort of overreacts to something. I've never seen him happier. Like he was like, oh my God, you guys check out this rosé deal. And immediately, immediately we all just started making fun of him. Like we just jumped on him. We all started calling him Robbie Rose. I mean, sometimes I break out Robbie Rose. It's literally been more than a decade. And sometimes I'll be golfing with Robbie, like, chill out, Robbie Rose, And so I think that's just been in my head for like a decade. And
So
I
does he
thought,
kn-
that was a funny way to just sort of poke fun at Henry.
does he know that you got a couple digs at him
this
indirectly in the book?
I think when he read the book and he saw the whole Rose discourse, he was probably like, that bastard.
It's like, it's me.
You got it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's amazing. Those are the best stories when you're like, I'm going to hold on to this forever.
Yeah.
I know. I'm never going to let you forget this.
Never letting you forget this.
All right. The phrase great and terrible sadnesses feels very intentional. What did you want that shared language to communicate about how Grace and Henry experienced their loss?
That's a really good question. Great and terrible sadness was something that sort of popped into my head. I think that I worked in advertising for a really long time. That was my sort of professional career. And I- in advertising, you're constantly, I was an advertising writer, you're constantly sort of branding things. So my instinct is to brand moments, in the same way that I named Robbie Rose. I was like, I was sort of branding this moment. And I love the idea of these two characters who've gone through this thing, although different, similar in a general sense, the same in a similar sense, they're on this grief island together, right?
Right.
And they have a shared language and they can talk about it with each other in a way that they simply can't with anybody else. Like there's a line in the book, nobody knows what it's like to be us except for us, or something to that effect. And that is a way of dramatizing that. They can just sort of make those flippant comments to each other that don't need any explanation, because if you know, and they know, right? And so I think that is how they really, over the course of 300 pages, really bond. They come closer and closer together over that shared experience.
And I think to your point that nobody understands except for us, their families obviously play a pretty big role in the story too, with the moms trying to orchestrate a meet cute sort of successfully.
Right.
But it seemed like in some places, their family or friends are trying to fix them, but then you also have Cal really trying to
we loved
be
Cal
supportive
so much.
in a way that maybe doesn't always work, but is always appreciated. What were you
I
hoping to kind of...
love you, man.
Marianne loves Cal.
Yeah. People really like Cal. Cal was a popular character.
I'm also fond of Kelsey because that's my younger daughter's name.
Yeah, that's
oh,
true.
Nice. That's a great name.
But in kind of tying in the families and how they're kind of secondhand experiencing the grief that their family members are going through, what were you hoping to say about how society kind of as a whole or within families handle grief, especially if it's not their direct grief?
Yeah,
I think that there's different. Secondhand grief is that's a great phrase. You branded that really well. I don't think I say that
Thank
in
you so
the book.
much.
And I feel like what I do say in the book is they're going through grief, but it's a shorter, more compressed grief because they weren't married to these people. They they love them obviously, and they're a big part of their lives. So they're over it and they're ready for Grace and Henry to be over it too. And they're trying to do everything they can to just sort of shake them out of grief, even though that's sort of impossible because they still have a lot of work to do. But I love the idea. All of my books, this idea of the villainless novel is something that I really like. And if you like everybody in a book and you are down with the story, you're probably going to have a good reading experience, right? And so I really like taking my side characters and doing my best to make them feel like living, breathing people that could have their own novel. They just don't happen to, and so I build them in the most likable, sympathetic ways that I can. And early on, when I was coming up with Cal, I challenged myself to have him literally wearing his baby in every scene.
I know.
I thought that would be.
I love that. I know.
We love it. So
I thought
funny.
it would be.
Yes.
I thought it would be funny, and I thought it'd be sweet, and like a way of giving him sort of a uniform,
Yeah. Right.
And the only scene that I didn't pull it off, it just didn't make sense, was at Thanksgiving dinner, he's got her like right next to him.
Yeah.
And then when he goes and plays the video game, he has her in the, but it just didn't make sense for him to be at the Thanksgiving table,
eating around her.
Yeah, so she had to be sitting there. Now I was like, oh damn it, I failed. But yeah, I like the side characters. I like very. I love side characters.
Yeah.
I think that one of my favorite writers is Richard Russo,
Mhm.
and he is he is a master of the side character. Like these characters wander in, and he gives them little details that make them feel like living, breathing things. Not
Right.
they're not plot devices. They're not just there to fill out the setting or the scene, right? They're real people who are wandering into the main characters'
Yeah.
lives, and I want to make them feel like that as much as I can.
Well, I think too, as an English teacher, you 6 types of conflict. Your villain doesn't always have to be a character,
You're
Yeah.
right.
you know?
Oh,
And I
yeah,
feel like
'cause
in
then
this
the
one,
grief is the
the villain is
yeah.
grief is the villain. It can be a thing. It can be
Yeah.
nature, and that's what
Right.
they're not battling another person. They're battling themselves in the grief, and that's really pretty poignant, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
For sure. So moving on to the holiday movie
Oh
marathon,
yeah, the holiday
which
movies.
sent us when we first started reading the book. I think Marianne read it first, and then Sarah and I picked it up. And the number of text messages that were just flying back and forth, like, "Oh my God, this movie's being mentioned!" Like
Well, don't forget my last summer. Didn't I have like a
yes,
no? That was a
Marianne-
rom-com movie.
Marianne,
marathon. Yes.
yes.
Oh, nice.
Last
Yes.
summer, Marianne realized that while her children were little, she missed out on the '90s
Yes.
romantic comedy boom. So she was
Yes.
catching up by watching all of them, and I think that's kind of what caught our eye at the start when you saw the title. You were
Yes.
like, "That's kind of like what I did."
Yes, because I think I
Like,
watched a few of them during the summer.
So was there, holiday movies? I think Sarah and I, in particular, Marianne a little bit too, are like big holiday movie
yeah.
people.
Same,
And
totally.
you, I was gonna say, you mentioned earlier
Uh-huh.
that you were as well. So when you were writing this book, holiday movies are kind of a shorthand for a lot of readers or movie watchers. What is your kind of like relationship with holiday movies? What makes you love them as much as we do?
I absolutely love them. I think that there's just such a joy, and they're very nostalgic, and you sit down and with I think all of them really it's weird for me to sort of accept a new holiday movie. Like sometimes a movie will come every year there's a new
Yes.
one,
There's
Yes.
and I'm
more.
just like, I'm sorry, no, I'm all
Yeah.
full, right?
Is it
Yeah.
I was
is it really
yeah,
that good or no? Yeah,
yeah,
Right.
about
Does it deserve
2001
space?
or so, I was
Yeah.
full on holiday movies, and I'm just keeping them. But
Yep.
I love that sense of nostalgia, and it ties back to just really for me a very happy time, because I had a very happy childhood. The holidays
Yep.
were always just a lovely time for
Mhm.
my family and I. And I think part of writing this book was opening my eyes a bit to the fact that maybe not everybody had that same experience,
Right.
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
when I pitched the book to my editor at the time, and she's since moved on to another publisher, but my editor and I pitched the book to her, and as an example, I used Love Actually and The Family Stone.
Yeah.
And
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Hot
We
debate ones,
know.
yeah.
right. And it was funny because Anne is a good bit younger than me. I'd call it maybe 15 years younger than me, and which makes her sort of just come at the world from a different perspective for me.
Yes.
And I was waxing poetic about these two movies and how they would fit into this overarching idea that I was in love with and I was trying to sell her on. And I could hear from the tone of her voice we were on the phone that I had missed. There was like a misstep, and I was like, "What's going on? Why are you being quiet? Are you mad at me?" And she was like, "Well, let me tell you why I hate both of those." She's like, "I really."
She's like, "Let me
I
lay it on
really-
you."
She's like, "This is a really good idea, but let me tell you why I hate these two movies." And I was like, "What? Like, are you about to give me the case against these two movies that I love so much?" And she basically gave me, and I gave that her dialogue directly to Grace,
Right. And
because
that was one of our follow-up questions
Yeah.
on the holiday
Yeah.
movies was where did you
And-
stand on Love
Yes.
Actually and The Family Stone? Because we had
long
a
conversations
Well,
relationship
I
debate.
think I saw a post on Instagram that you're a big fan of Love Actually, right?
I
Or not?
am a big fan of Love Actually.
I
And-
love Love Actually
Sarah
as well.
too.
And I think that
Not me.
I went into it. I went into the book sort of naive to. I was looking at all these movies with rose-colored glasses, and I
Right,
just was
right.
looking at them the way I saw
Right.
them when I was, however old I was in 2001 when Love Actually came out or whatever.
Mhm.
And that opened my eyes to the fact that a lot of these movies, especially the ones that are decades old,
Right.
there's things about them that have not aged well, right?
Yes.
And for me, there was like this idea. I'm like, okay, I get it. That's an interesting push pull that I can talk about. That's another thing that can be like a contrast between my two main characters. One can just sort of love them unconditionally, and one can point out the edges to them, right?
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about, and this doesn't really go in the book, but as a writer, it got me thinking about how art stays fixed and the world changes around it. We change
Oh,
around it.
yeah.
We evolve.
Yep.
We grow. Language, I mean, especially
Yes.
language evolves. And so the way these characters are talking, the way they're behaving, the jokes they're making just don't land anymore. But I'll die on this hill. The entire Colin Firth sequence where he goes marching through that little town at the
Yes.
end to propose, that's just perfect. That is perfect.
My
It is
favorite
sweet and funny.
storyline in that. That's my favorite
same.
storyline. It's so
By
good.
a mile. But so I kept that tension, and I just sort of put it directly in the book. It's like, yeah, some of this stuff is a little cringy, but it's also awesome,
Yeah.
Well, I had never seen The Family Stone. I don't know
Oh, that's
why.
right.
I
You
don't know
only
how I
saw
missed
it
it.
recently, right?
And I was on Netflix, and after reading, I was like, I have to watch The Family Stone. And when I knew that scene was coming up from the book, and you're right, it just didn't age well.
Yeah.
So as somebody who hasn't seen it, I'm like, oh, I know where this is going, and that's not okay. You can't say those things now. But had I seen it when it came out, I probably would have loved it, because we were talking about how awesome the cast was.
Yeah, the cast is
killer
phenomenal.
cast.
Oh, the cast was amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's
What
insane.
a crew. Yeah.
Now, I
So
think
good.
one thing that I kept thinking about with this book is I love the fact that it is a Christmas book that deals with grief, because I think a lot of people seeing those Christmas movies, they're all so happy and so um, positive. And there's another word that's not coming to mind right now, but optimistic. That's the other word.
There it is.
And for a lot of people, Christmas is a really tough time because you're going through grief. So I think it's nice to have a Christmas book that deals with grief, but it's also going to make you laugh, because I think that's important for people. Maybe they should make Grace and Henry into a movie. Yes, they should. Yeah.
There it is.
Yes.
I'm all for it.
Needs to be the newest Christmas movie.
That's
to
right.
come out.
That would be great.
To add to the
Grace and Henry,
pantheon.
I'm telling you.
That's great. People our age, of course, would reject it because it's new. We'd be like, it can't be good.
Be like, you can't add a new one.
Yeah. We'd be like,
Yeah.
no.
Speaking of kind of like
Where are we
the
at?
funny moments in the book, again, Marianne read it first, and Harry Styles the dog coming right out the gate with the comic relief was one of the funniest things. Came out of left field for me. We all have rescue dogs that we kind of acquired without knowing what their personalities were going to be.
All three of them are quirky.
Yeah.
So we loved seeing Harry Styles the dog. Do you find that using an animal, like the dog in this case, give you different ways of injecting humor into kind of like the sadness
Totally.
that
those
characters were living in at the start?
Yeah, Harry Styles is a great character for that. He just adds some levity, because you're kind of introducing these characters, and they're just and they're living through everybody's sort of worst case domestic nightmare, right? Domestic scenario, and so he immediately gives levity, and because Harry Styles is playing in the car on the way there, and then it offers like a little surprise when Grace and Henry actually meet each other, when she calls the dog Harry Styles, and just
He's like,
the timing of it is great.
As a Harry Styles fan, I love that.
And the timing is perfect. Harry Styles has a new single out tomorrow, and then
a new tour just got announced today.
That
it doesn't have the dates yet, but
30
it's
dates.
coming.
He's doing 30 dates at Madison Square Garden, and
That's
I'm
cool.
going to
Wow.
do. Yeah, so that's what he's doing. He's doing these residencies. So instead of going to a ton of places, at least I think he's going to do.
That's what he did last time too. Love on Tour was like a significant amount of time in New York City at Madison Square Garden.
I wonder if my children have booked their flights yet. So
yeah, your children are big Harry Styles fans.
If I was still in Syracuse, You'd be there. Yeah, I went down. This is an aside, but I went down and saw Louis Tomlinson, who was in One Direction, while Harry Styles was at Madison Square Garden, but I couldn't afford Harry Styles, so I went to Louis Tomlinson instead. I was like, I love you both. I'll go over here. You're more affordable.
They're cheaper.
Yeah.
You're cheaper.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk Baltimore.
I was going to
Because
say,
obviously,
Harry
we
Styles.
are a podcast that talks about travel too, so we always talk heavily about locations.
Sure.
and In fact, I read
Yeah, go
Charm
ahead,
City
Mary.
Rocks too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think your books are like a love letter to Baltimore. So tell us about
Yeah,
Baltimore.
that's how she described it to us, a love letter to
Yes.
Baltimore. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was her first selling point when she was like, "You guys got to read this
Yeah.
book. It's like a love letter to Baltimore, and there's Christmas movies." And we're like, "Okay."
And there's a connection to Charm City Rocks and
Yes.
Grace and Henry too. So
Yeah.
There is. They exist in the same universe for
yes.
sure. Um, yeah, Baltimore is, yeah, it's great. I'm not from here. I actually grew up
Oh
in the
really?
Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska,
All
and I
right.
moved to the Washington, D.C. area for grad school and just sort of adventure in
Mhm.
2001. So I've been on
Mhm.
this side of the country for like my
For a while,
whole like
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
adult life, but I've been here in Baltimore since 2006. And so I look at it a little bit still after all these years as an outsider a little bit, because I
Right.
can see it in a way that maybe
Mhm.
people who are born and raised here can't. And maybe I romanticize it a little
Mhm.
sometimes, but I think what I love about this place is it's a big city, just in terms of population, but it's like a small big city. It's on the
Mm.
smaller side of being a big
Mhm.
city.
Mhm.
So it's big enough to have art and culture and pro sports teams, and
Yeah.
it's these little traditions that cities have, but it
Right.
also feels like a bit of a neighborhood, a bit of a small town. Um, and so I really enjoy it. And I love when novels are set in very specific places.
Right.
Right. And
Mhm.
so, the lazy answer as a writer is, well, I live here, so I might as well
So
look
it's easy
outside my
to
window and just set it, within a square
What
mile
I
of
can
my
see.
driveway. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it is more than that, just because of all the things that I said. I mean, I could do a lot of research on, Tucson or,
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever, but I don't think it would feel the same because Baltimore does have a very specific sort of mid-Atlantic vibe to it. And yeah, I really love it here. And people react to it. I mean, a lot of people, because, I'm writing for a national audience, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I try to be as specific to Baltimore as I can without alienating people who don't care about Baltimore or never been here or don't really think much
Mhm.
about it either way. So hopefully I succeed at that. But at a certain point, the Baltimore Department of Tourism is going to have to start sending me money or something like that.
There you go.
But last couple of books have
Yeah.
been good for the city.
And
Good.
So
we all talked about
Yeah.
like, oh, like we should go to Baltimore. Like we should figure
Yeah,
out how
like
to
we
get
want to
there and
see
that
all these
kind of
places. We want
Yeah.
Edgar Allen's to really exist
Yeah.
because we looked it
Yeah.
up. We're like,
I wish
No,
it
we were
did.
like,
I wish it did.
like as a big
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe fan, like I'm like, oh, I
Yes.
mean, we were talked about. What's the other one? The horse he rode in. That's the one.
that's
that
a real place though, I think.
That's
That's
a
real.
real
That he
place.
supposedly was the last bar he
Yeah.
was in before he found it. We're like, that one exists, but
Yeah.
Edgar Allen's just sounds fun. Like
Oh
somewhere
yes,
where we'd wanna
definitely.
go.
So if we
Yeah.
did come to Baltimore, what's the first place we should go and where's the first place we should eat?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I am a huge baseball fan, and I think that Camden Yards is just one of the
Oh
greatest
yeah.
places in the
Yeah.
United States. That's the best place to be in the spring and summer in Baltimore. So I would definitely recommend there. But there's a couple of places within walking distance of Camden Yards. I mean, the city is sort of built around
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
Camden Yards, and well, I guess they built it obviously in the 90s, but it just feels like the whole city just kind of it's a big circle around Camden Yards. You can
Mhm.
walk to almost anywhere, but yeah, the Fells Point, where a lot of my last book and a bit of this book take place, I think would be a good place. There's a place called Cooper's down in that area that would be great, and it's just sort of glorified bar food. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
Baltimore. It's like there's
Yeah.
this glorified bar food, and if you like seafood and crabs and all that, you
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
Nice.
So should we get to our rapid fire questions, you think? Do we have anything else?
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
have some questions that we ask ourselves about every book that we read when
Okay.
we do our podcast, and we like to ask authors the same questions. So it's 3 kind of rapid fire questions.
Well, the
Nothing
third one
too
we don't
crazy.
ask ourselves. We only ask the authors. But yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
We already know the answer to the third one for us.
Yeah.
It would be
Okay.
the same every time. But question number 1 is, of your characters, who would you most want to take a road trip with?
So we're talking about all of the characters I've
All
ever
of your
written.
characters that you've ever written.
Okay,
Who would you want
so
to spend some time stuck in a car with?
my favorite my favorite character that I've ever written is in my last book is a British movie star named Lossie Ding.
Oh,
So
I keep pointing as if I'm aiming.
I know you're just pointing it.
Wait, no. Wait,
Are
this-
you?
Yes.
what am I
Um,
doing?
I
The
pointed at you,
And
but you're
and
You just
not
and
pointed.
there for other people.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
are currently here for me, but,
we keep
no,
bouncing
so,
around.
Yeah.
um, so one of the female lead of my 5th novel, Charm City Rocks, is a former rock star, a rock
Oh, her
drummer named Margot Ham.
ex-husband.
Her ex-husband is a movie
Yes,
star,
and her
a
baby
British movie
daddy.
star,
The baby
and
daddy.
I j also baby daddy, and I just loved writing him. He was fun. I took everything about what I imagined a movie star would be and just turned it up to 11, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And he was a very fun character to write, and he shows up almost literally at the exact halfway point of that book as, like, this sort of, like, bolt of lightning. I think he would be really fun to hang out with and, especially go on a road trip with because, going on a road trip with a super famous person
Oh,
would probably be a
Yeah.
good
he's
time.
he's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
has some stories too, like,
Oh,
that'll
Yeah.
keep
yeah.
you
He probably does.
entertained about,
Some good
"Yeah,
Yeah.
this one
stories.
Probably got
time."
access to places that we could not
Oh
get
my
into on
gosh.
our
That's right.
own,
That's a good one. That's a
for
good one.
sure.
All right, who
Okay.
would you want to have dinner with
Of your characters.
of your characters?
Good meal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say Lawson Daniels again because that would be a fun meal as well, let's be
Yeah.
honest.
But if you're on a road trip, you're gonna eat dinner together anyhow, so
Lots of
that's
meals.
Yeah,
so
There you go.
Yeah, we'd be going places. Gosh, I think that, I developed sort of a literary crush on my own character in the last book as well, Margot Hammer, the
Oh,
former
yes.
rock drummer. I think she would be fun to have a dinner with and talk about music on a very deep level, not just a superficial movie star, rock star level.
Mhm.
It'd be fun just to talk about music with Margot Hammer.
Well, just one thing about, like, Charm City Rocks, for me, like, a measure of a book I really liked, if I can remember exactly where I was when I was reading it, and
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
had an digital arc of Charm City Rocks, and I still remember I was in Salt Lake City at the AP reading because I teach AP government. And so I was at the AP reading where we scored the papers and I remember sitting in my hotel room and reading Charm City Rocks because I mean I just have that mental image every time I
Of
think of
what
it.
you were, yeah.
I go
Yeah.
straight to Salt Lake City. So that's to me
Oh,
is like my measure of how much I enjoyed the book is whether or not I
Yeah.
remember where
Remember
I
the
was when I read it.
Remember
Yeah.
Yep.
the
But
specifics.
yes, you can edit that part out if you want to, Sarah.
no, I
But
like it. Leave it in.
leave
Leave
it
it
okay,
in.
okay, okay.
What did we say? Is Dom the character that's the chef?
Dom is the
Oh,
chef,
We were
yes.
yeah.
like, let's have dinner with him because all the
Yes.
food he was making
Oh
Right.
my
sounded
yes.
fantastic. Like,
Yeah,
he can
very
cook for us
selfishly,
any
we
day.
went
Yes.
right to, like, who's gonna give us the best food?
What a miss on my part. I wrote a
Yes.
chef when you asked me who to have dinner with, I just completely no, not him. Yes, that
He
would be.
can serve dinner to you
He can
guys.
serve dinner
Yes.
to Margot
He
and
can
I,
make the dinner.
You can go to
have
the
different
Italian
yeah.
embassy with Margot. That's it. Yeah.
which
There you
also
go.
does not exist in real life. A
I
lot
know.
of, like
We were
We
sad
looked
about that as well.
we
yeah.
frequently, when we're on a podcast, you'll hear typing, and we're usually
Yeah.
Googling, does this place really exist? Because it sounds
Yes.
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Where
what's
do we
funny
get this
and
food?
what's frustrating for a lot of people, especially people who have some knowledge of Baltimore, is there's no rhyme nor reason to what is real and what is fictional in my
Right.
books.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
don't know why I made up the Italian embassy. I could have moved a real Italian
Right.
restaurant and
Right.
put it right there. Or what I just didn't. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
people are like, does that exist? And it doesn't.
What about the screaming waterfall? Does that
Oh,
exist?
yeah.
Because
It
we
does
spent
Spent
a
a
exist.
lot
lot
of time
trying to figure out
looking
what
at waterfall
that
in
might be.
Baltimore because that sounded. We loved that part because it was funny
Thank
but
you.
also poignant. Of like
That
that's so real. That's so real. Go and just scream and nobody can really
Scream it
hear
out.
you.
The place does exist, and I'll tell you about that scene. So I wrote the first draft of the book and realized that Grayson, through the help of my editor, and also I kind of knew this on some level, the characters, Grace and Henry, don't spend enough time together. They were sort of as characters living these parallel lives and would
Yeah.
occasionally intersect. I needed them to be together more.
Okay.
And so I was like, I got to come up with more stuff and more movies and more reasons for them to be together. And so that scene where they go running and screaming together was a very late addition to the book, and
Oh.
it's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really an intimate moment for them together and part of their sort of bonding. But the place does exist, sort of in northern Baltimore. There's this sort of kind of winding park and you go back and there's this big man-made roaring waterfall. It's basically exists as I described it, so it is a real
I think
place.
we figured it out
I
because
think we found it.
like I think it's the man-made one. Like
Yeah.
We were looking
Yeah.
at like satellite views and we're like, the trail was curvy, so it's gotta be this one.
The trail was curvy.
This
That
one
is-
has rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
we
real
get very into
sidetracked by the waterfall.
very into the
that
travel
day.
part of things. Sometimes we're like,
Well,
Right.
well, my husband doesn't know how many vacations we've gone on because of a book. I kind of keep that to myself. But hey, let's go to Savannah, honey, because I read about Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil 25
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
So
Right. That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
one.
yes. Okay, so what is
I was
your
gonna say,
go-to?
per usual, we got distracted with
I
our
know.
rapid
sorry,
fire
I
questions.
know.
But the last
Yeah.
question is, Marianne.
Okay, what's your go-to snack when you're writing? Just
Go-to snack is Sour Patch Kids.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
choice.
I have a lot of I'm one of those people who needs a lot of like uppers when I'm writing. So I have a lot of caffeine going on.
Yeah.
caffeine and sugar.
Caffeine and sugar, a lot of espresso, a lot of Diet Dr. Pepper, a lot of iced tea, and Sour Patch Kids for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our last formal question, but we always like to give authors a chance to hype up anything that they have coming up soon that you would like
Oh,
to
yeah.
let our listeners know about. So do you have anything coming up?
So you guys caught me at a perfect time because
Okay.
I'm now about to retreat into my normal state of being a mole person. Like nobody will see or hear from me for about 2.5 years probably.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm just getting another novel off the ground, and it's starting
Nice.
to finally go well. Beginning a novel is like getting a kite off the ground, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
there's all these false starts and
Yep.
crashes, but once it's up, and it is up.
Yeah.
And I think it is just starting to get going. So
So
in about
beautiful.
2.5 years, I'm happy
We'll
to
be
come
ready.
back and chat with
We'll
you
be
guys.
ready. Yeah.
We'll be ready.
So
for
will
you.
we see Grace and Henry at all in it or not, do you think?
Marianne's holding
Is
out
it the
hope.
same world or
So it is the same world, however, it is not the same location. So there's a
okay.
there's a Baltimorean in it,
Mhm.
Okay.
but she is on an international trip, and
Oh,
so
cool.
she
We
has
love that.
Ooh.
ties to the places that we've been discussing for the
Okay.
last 45 minutes,
Yeah.
but she won't actually be there. At
Okay.
least, yeah. So so we'll see.
Nice.
I like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, we like international trips too. So
I know.
yeah.
I must say,
You
my
know.
first thought is, where could we try to travel
We
to
can start
next?
adding more
I know,
things to our list.
Got to get that travel budget up, you know.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah, you guys, if you want to go on this one, you need to save up. This is the Galapagos Islands.
Oh my God, I would
Oh,
love to.
I'd love to go down there. I know.
Yeah.
I'm actually listening to. Well, I've read it before, but I'm listening to Jodi Picoult's "Wish You Were Here," which the
Mhm.
first part of it takes place in the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
And I'm like dying to go there.
That's a bucket lister.
Yes.
Yeah, for
That would
sure.
be super, super cool.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you so
Thank-
much for joining us.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is super fun.
Fun.
That 40 minutes went way fast.
It did
Yes.
go fast, right? I looked up at my my little clock there on my computer. That
Yeah.
did go fast. So, wow.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Oh yeah, I
love
agree.
doing
Thank you
it.
very much. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
No,
Of
thank
course.
you.
No problem at all.
Of course.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thank you
Okay,
very
well, thank
much.
you so
Hey,
much.
thanks.
That was so much
Nice
fun.
meeting you all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice
you
meeting you as
too.
well.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It has been a joy talking about Grace and Henry's holiday movie marathon. Conversations like this are exactly why we love doing this podcast, and we are so grateful you shared your process, your humor, and your insight with us.
And for everyone listening, be sure to grab a copy of Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon if you haven't already. It is the kind of book that feels like a cozy night in and a good conversation rolled all into one. And don't forget to check out Matthew Norman's other works as well. You heard us talking about them. They are worth the
Yes.
read.
They are. If you
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this episode, be sure to explore the rest of our podcast where we feature episodes centered on highlighted reads, monthly reading recaps across every genre. I mean every genre, and
Every genre.
in-depth author interviews. From deep dives into individual books to broader conversations about what we're reading each month, there's always something else new to discover and add to your TBR.
Obsessed with Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon after hearing us talk all about it with the author? Same. You can grab your copy directly through our bookshop.org storefront, where every purchase supports independent bookstores. Something we love almost as much as we love cozy movie marathons, sharp banter, and perfectly timed romantic chaos. And Harry Styles the dog. You can get the book here. It is at our bookshop store, bookshop.org/shop/RETR-book club. Or, if that felt like a lot, head right to our link tree and jump straight to the shop. Shop smart, shop indie, and read Grayson Henry's holiday movie marathon.
So until next time, keep reading,
keep exploring,
and don't forget to pack the snacks.